invite our, second speaker of the day, Dr. Tamas Kiss. Dr. Tamas, it's a privilege, it's a proud privilege to invite you over, and it gives me immense happiness to read about him and tell you what all he has in his kitty. Dr. Tamaskis holds a PhD in linguistics from the University of Warsaw, Poland, a master's degree from University of Exeter College of St. Mark and St. John, UK, and a B.Ed in English language teaching from Kossuth Lajos University, Hungary. He has been involved with language teacher education programs in Europe, the Middle East, South Asia, Latin America, and Southeast Asia as a researcher, educator, and consultant. He has delivered one-off talks and directed 2-week intensive workshops in more than 20 countries, including Romania, Lithuania, Pakistan, Nepal, India, Iraq, Hong Kong, Singapore, the Philippines, Malaysia, Germany, Mexico, etc., by invitation of universities, language teacher organizations, cultural institutions such as British Council or international publishing houses. His main research interests include language pedagogy, language teacher education, intercultural communication, the link between complex dynamic systems and education, the role of culture in language teaching materials, and creativity. One of his latest projects resulted in a book co-authored with Ellen Melee, the Ellen Melee, and published by Palgrave Macmillan in 2018 with the title Creativity and English Language Teaching from Inspiration to Implementation. He's currently an associate professor at Sunway University, Center for English Language Studies in Malaysia, and honorary associate professor at Jiao Tong, Liverpool University, China. Sir, it is a privilege to have you here with us. You don't know how beholden we are that we can today listen to you. It will be a proud privilege to have you in person also, but for today, virtually, I welcome you to this great land of learning. I welcome you. Today, Dr. Tamas is going to talk about 7 lessons from online teaching. And in this task, he's going to share his personal experience with doing online teaching in the Malaysian context. He will discuss 7 key learning points should be applicable to teachers regardless of the type of technology or the level of students they teach. The most important of these are, he's going to talk about them in his presentation, so I'm not going to open all the cards. I welcome you, Dr. Tamas. Over to Dr. Tamas Kiss.
Thank you so much, Anita. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. I don't know if I should say good morning or good afternoon, because people are from different time zones, and for some of you it's still the morning, for some of us it's already afternoon. I would like to make a comment on the title of the webinar, teaching English language and literature in the post-COVID era, because I think it's a very optimistic title. I think the post of the COVID-19 era is far away from now, and we have to learn how to cope with what we have at the present. But one thing I think is absolutely sure is that online teaching is going to stay with us for a very long time, especially in contexts where economics of education play an important role. Imagine if you are teaching online, you can reach hundreds, if not thousands of students at the same time without maintaining a physical building that needs electricity, heating, air conditioning, and lots of other facilities. So I believe online teaching will be a challenge for teachers, not just in the methodological sense, but also in the existential sense, because quite a few teachers may be replaced by online content, not in the name of providing more quality education, but in the name of saving money. What I'm going to talk about today, I would like to sort of share my view, if I can. Uh, let's see. About is 7 lessons that I have personally learned from teaching online. As Ramita said, I'm a university professor, so I don't teach actual classes right now, but I'm trying to help out friends who do teach. And also because I want to keep in touch with what's going on in the classroom, I was very happy to say yes to a few friends' requests to take over some of their classes. I learned that online teaching different from our usual normal face-to-face teaching. It is the same because the basic principles of teaching are the same no matter where you teach and no matter what medium you choose as your teaching. If you talk less, if you provide bite-sized teaching, your students have better choices of learning. If you motivate your students to come prepared in class, then the results of your teaching will be much better than if they come completely unprepared. Whether you're teaching online, whether you're teaching in the classroom, you have to make use of the affordances you have. You have to make sure that you are using what the space can afford, what the technology can afford, to maximize the learning outcome that you can achieve in that particular environment. You shouldn't just use the same thing over and over again. Otherwise, you are risking your students being completely bored and switch off by the end of your sessions. I always thought that getting student input is something which is very important. So involving the students in the learning process, engaging them, empowering them, hearing their voices, is one of the things that you need to do whether you are working online or whether you are working in the classroom. But having said that, it's different for online teaching. I don't think many of us have had the training in using the skills, the techniques that are necessary to conduct good online lessons. And I learned it firsthand from my own experiences when I tried to conduct a grammar lesson to a group of secondary school students in Malaysia. I was using a text-based platform called Telegram, which is very similar to WhatsApp or other texting messages. The teacher for that class created a group for all the students who come into this platform and follow the teacher's instructions, questions. I was about the simple present and simple continuous tense using a language awareness activity in which I was giving them some authentic texts and I tried to lead them to discover some meanings and structural information about the tenses. The material I was using was the NT Grammar book by Nick Hall and John Shepherd. It's a lovely resource book. So I simply sent my students a page from that book, a photocopiable resource, and then I was planning to go through the questions with them and guide them to discover something about the tenses. Now, what happened was quite interesting. Was that I was using not the kind of classroom that I use in an online environment. Let it be just synchronous or asynchronous environment. It's very different from the class. In the classroom, you have to set ground rules. You have to let the students know who should speak, who should present, who should come to the class, how do you take the register, how do you organize small groups, how do you encourage collaboration. All these things are essential for an effective working session. The next point that I would like to talk about is time management. Also very, very important. Time management. Okay, what I'm just stop sharing the screen because I'm not sure whether I can. Oh, okay. See, the technology. So with time management, what I learned is everything that you do online will take more time. I'm planning for the lesson. I think as if I was planning for a normal class. In actual session, I could only do about 25% of what I have planned. There were lots of issues about starting the session. Not everybody logged in at the same time. So I couldn't really start until I had at least half the students in the session, in the group. Otherwise, I start something, and as they join in, they have no idea what to do. Issues. Sometimes internet was lagging, as we have seen Prof. Motikala's case. Sometimes we lose time. Sometimes we have to go back. Sometimes I have to re-explain certain things. And everything takes time. So it's very, very important that you try to manage what you are doing. That you have to be patient, especially when you, because when you are using a text-based platform, what happens is that students are may be typing at different speed. You ask a question and you have to make a decision whether you acknowledge the first answer, correct answer provided by the students. If you acknowledge the first answer, then the rest of the class will not think about what the correct answer would be. But if you don't acknowledge the student's response, the ones who have provided you the answer are getting anxious, not knowing whether they are right or wrong. How much time do you give for thinking? How much time do you wait as a teacher before you acknowledge the answers? You know, suddenly, if you give the students thinking time, then you just disappear from the screen. Or you are there, if it's a video audio platform, but you don't say a word. That's very unnerving for the students. Because when they watch a video like this, they expect somebody to be speaking. And suddenly, there's quiet. They don't know what's happening. Another reason is to be aware of the difference. Like in a normal classroom, you have to differentiate. You have to differentiate between your learners. You have to be aware, not just about your learners' language skills, different language skills, but also their different levels of computer literacy. You have to be aware that some of your students have very fast internet connection, whereas others have very poor internet connection. So their answers may depend on the connectivity they have, not just the language. Also, most of them are good at computers, good at texting, good at typing, whereas others are probably not using technology that often. It happened to me that I asked the question, few students answered, we agreed what the correct answer was, and we moved on to another question. And suddenly, somebody gave the correct answer to the previous question because they were still typing. while they are typing, they are not paying attention of what being shared, what being said, because they are busy trying to get their answers through to you. Okay, so all these differences will definitely impact your class. By the way, I'm getting different requests to allow annotation. I am declining all of them because I don't know what would happen if I click yes. Okay, so just I don't have too many slides. I don't have too many notes to share. So let's not do that. Planning. I already mentioned that with planning, it's very easy to overplan. Very, very easy to overplan. My suggestion would be is when you plan for an online session, after you have planned, take away half, then take the half and half it again. And probably you can do that. It's very easy to become ambitious with your planning. It's very easy to think that you can cover lots of grounds. You cannot. There are many administrative problems, technical problems, and it's always best to plan for less, but teach that thoroughly, rather than try into a short session. My biggest difficulty and challenge was something that I was calling flying blind. In the classroom, you can feel what's happening with your learners. You can pick up the vibe of the class. You can pick up, you know which students are engaged, you know which students are not engaged. In a way, in an online environment, just the thing I can see is Ramnita's face and my slides and myself. I have absolutely no idea how you are reacting to what I'm saying. I'm flying blind. I'm not getting feedback. You know, in a lecture, in a physical environment, my eyes would be scanning the audience. I would be looking for signs for acknowledgement, understanding, puzzlement, and I can paraphrase. I can offer a different way of explanation of what I'm saying. But here, I don't have that. So just like in a pilot, fly, I'm only hoping that I'm heading in the right direction. It can be a little bit unnerving, to be honest. Okay? Technology issues. This is my last but one point. I would like to sort of finish the talk. There are always technological issues. During the lesson I was teaching, I had 30 students. There around half time, students maybe they have internet lag, maybe they have other things to do, maybe they were just leaving, until there were only 2 people in the discussion group, and one of them was me. Now, that could be very disheartening for a teacher, because I think most of us love to listen to our voices, but like to talk to an empty audience. So when you are realizing that your students are disappearing on the platform, you start to question what you're doing. Is it me? Is it the material? Maybe engaging enough? Are we having technological issues? Why is everybody suddenly not here? What's happening? You don't know, and it's it can be very demotivating. One way to fight that is to reflect on what you're doing, is to try to make sense of what's happening in your teaching experience. The 7 points I've been sharing with you is actually the result of after the session, and think it through. Think about the learning experience. Think about what you can learn from that experience. Think about how you would do that in the future. Change. Things that from teaching online is that, and talking with many teachers, is that teaching has become even more isolated than before. We went into the staff room. There were other teachers. We could share our experience. We could talk about our teaching and talk about our students. But when we were under lockdown, teaching home, the only contact you had, most probably, who either came or not to the session. What's very important is collaboration among teachers. Not only consider teaching your own subject. If you do that, you're locking yourself up in a box from where you cannot see outside. And imagine colleagues are doing the same. So you have many closed boxes around the school structure, and nobody is knowing what's happening in the neighboring boxes. What I would suggest is that you embrace project pedagogy. Instead of teaching individual lessons, I would suggest taking one common project where each subject can something. Let's suppose that you want to teach about the COVID-19 situation. In math, what you introduce statistics, how to predict the COVID-19 curve in your country by using statistical data. In biology, you can teach about the difference between virus and bacteria. In geography, you can look at the correlation between climate and population, or the density of population and pandemic. In history, you can find examples of epidemics or pandemics in the past and see their effects. In literature, you can find examples of hard times, epidemics, pandemics in the past to see their effects on novels or in novels. Now, where does language come into the picture? Language is what they are going to do as the end product of the project. What is going to be the language? Are they going to do a report? Are they going to do a poster? Is it going to be a factual recount? Is it going to be a scientific report? Is it going to be a letter to an organization? The features of that genre, then you can teach grammar, you can teach vocabulary, you can teach all the necessary language that the students need to finish their projects. But then, you see, you are alone, because the mathematics teacher is going to be there, partly acting as a language teacher. The biology teacher, the geography teacher, the history teacher, and the teacher are all going to be doing the same thing. This is what we call language across the curriculum. Everybody becomes and everybody works together. So collaboration, I think, is what we will have to have after the pandemic. I set my timer for 20 minutes and my timer had just gone off. So with that, I would like to thank your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Tamas, for a very engaging, and very interesting take on the online teaching. And the 7 points that you have talked about: classroom management, time management, and having the patience to be aware of the differences, planning, and that flying blind kind of thing, and technical issues are really all of those things that we have been thinking about. And with your the kind of insight that you've given to us, and the kind of reflection that you have really triggered our minds to, it's going to help us understand our classrooms better. Because when particularly in these times, the problem is that we did not shift to this online teaching system, 100% online teaching system, as a will. It wasn't a willing transformation. It didn't happen over a period of time. It wasn't a well planned and thought of transformation. It just happened. I mean, we had to. So it's kind of everybody is groping in the dark and trying to find out, how to go about it and what should we do. It is heartening to know that people across the world are facing similar kind of problems, and we are going to find out solutions to them also. So what you have talked about today is really going to help us understand our online teaching better, and the wonderful concept of collaborative teaching that you've talked about, and the importance of language, and how language will act as a binding force, behind all the other disciplines, is indeed, you put it very subtly that of course language is going to be there. My concern, which often bothers me, is that around the world, when when people were hiring English language teachers, they would go in for the first language speakers, the native language speaking people. Now, through the online education, the teaching by the native language speakers would be more, it'll be available to the people across the world. So what about the teachers like us who have grown up in a situation of second language speakers? We are the second language speaker teachers, right? So I find, I'm a little insecure about that. So we'll share all our views and we'll talk about it as we move towards the end of the seminar. Thank you so very much for a very, very wonderful talk. It was heartening, and thank you so much. We will connect with you. You are here, and we are going to come back to you with questions
Sure.
at the end of the session. Thank you so much.